Hi everyone, this is Anna Finch from Finch Press. Hope everyone's had a good day. So today's video is a review of Vellum as a software for self-published authors. So let's start. So Vellum is a piece of software that you can download for free. So you can actually download for free and test it out for free before buying. Now, what this particular piece of software does is it actually formats manuscripts. You upload a manuscript, it will format it for you, and you can pick and choose and change the different styles and things like that to suit what you're interested in. So this software, Vellum, is only available on Mac. You cannot use it on an iPad. You cannot use it on a PC. It is a Mac only piece of software. Okay, and from what I understand, from how I've used so far, been using this, you cannot use this for to format children books. You can't really use it to format illustrated novels or things that have a lot of graphics. So this particular software works best with fiction novels. No matter its size, it works best with fiction novels. You can use it for non-fiction, but it gets a little bit tricky when it comes to formatting the actual book in Vellum. So using the software is free, but when you are ready to publish and you have to export the file, it will prompt you to pay. So you pay only once you are certain you really like the software and the way they will look, and there'll be a button at the top of the Vellum page which will say purchase. This is when you click purchase, you're purchasing a license to use that program forever, as long as the program's available, basically. And you are purchasing a license, and you can do it for ebook or print book. Now, I tested it out and I liked it. I bought both the print and ebook format because why not? I'm going to be formatting, and it's going to look the same anyway. I didn't see any point in getting some other software for the different formats when this particular software works perfectly fine and it's super easy to use. So I bought the ebook and print book license. This basically means when I export my files, I can get a print copy and an ebook copy in multiple different platforms. Now, from what I have tested, it doesn't create Mobi files. If you need a Mobi file, or you need a Mobi file for example, Story Origin, where they ask you to put a Mobi file of your manuscript or your EPUB manuscript, you have to have a Mobi one, and for the actual book and for the sample, you need a separate software to convert it. And there's a software that they do recommend for Story Origin that's pretty decent, but this is where at Vellum. Personally, Vellum is easy to use. There's not a steep learning curve. There's tutorials online on their site where they explain how to do certain things, but it's not that hard to learn how to use. I'm not the most tech savvy person, but getting the basics, understanding of how to use the platform, 5 minutes. They do give you a ebook or a book that you can, when you download it initially, you get an ebook that you in the same file that you can upload, and you follow basically a tutorial which shows you how to do front, back matter, and all that. using that ebook they upload, which is great, and it shows you how to use it. I'm going to talk about some of the features. Now, when you upload your manuscript, you upload a Word document into Vellum, and it will format it based on the headings that you have. So if you've already got your front and back matter, so copyright pages and things like that, and acknowledgement pages and the chapter headings and everything in there, what it will do once you upload, it will separate the document into chapters. So it will create chapter files for you that you can then go in and edit. And you can add front and back matter. So they've got features where you can actually go in to the things and add a chapter. You can add an element. So if you want to add a blurb, you can. You can add a title page, copyright page, dedication, epigraph. You can add all these other things into your file, and it will generate a standard version. So it will generate a standard copyright page where you can add things like publisher logo and all that sort of stuff in there. You can create an about by page. You can pretty much add any front and back matter you want within it. It allows you to edit directly. So if you don't have a writing program to use, you can use Vellum, and you can actually write your novel in Vellum, and it will format it for you as you write it. It works better as a formatting tool, but you can use it as a writing tool as well, instead of like Scrivener or something. And you can copy whatever you put in here into a Word doc if you don't want to buy the actual program. So you can do all that. You can add images into that as well. One of the coolest features is actually that you can actually have a preview. So you can actually have a preview of what that chapter or whatever's going to look like in the actual book. And you can see if it looks good, if the paragraphs looks too big on the screen, and you can check it on. You can have a preview for Kindle Fire, all these different things like iPad, iPhone, print. You can see how it will look like and before you export it, which is fantastic. So, in my personal opinion, Vellum is an excellent piece of software for formatting fiction books. It works brilliantly with fiction. Non-fiction is more difficult. It's more tricky. What I mean by more tricky is non-fiction books will use things like bullet points. It will use graphs. It will use tables. It will have images. And formatting that in Vellum is a pain. It can get tricky, and it's a pain. I had to, when doing the title page for Voiceless, it was tricky. So I'll show you. So I did a review on this one already, so this book already. But if you were to open this and you look at the formatting, there are sections which you can do pretty easily in Vellum. But there are bits like the bullet points. Now, can you put bullet points in Vellum? Yes. So the bullet points aren't really an issue if you know how to do it in Vellum. It's when you get to things like, so see if I can find the page, this. So having graphs or an image of a graph, or putting a table or any sort of diagram is tricky, because you have to work out how you're going to insert a particular diagram or image and keep it on the same page as whatever piece of information you are doing, rather than having the diagram appear on a separate page, which can happen using Vellum. And the reason why I know this is because I actually have a glossary in Voiceless. I created a glossary in Voiceless. and I couldn't actually work out how to put a table that was actually in the manuscript, and it actually appeared weird when it uploaded. Putting that glossary in there and making sure it was formatted correctly was a pain. I couldn't work out how to do it using the table, putting a table in there. So I had to actually mess around with it, and in the Word document, which had just the glossary in there, I had to convert it into a PDF and then convert the PDF into 2 separate JPEG files or image files, and then create a page or an image, full-sized image page. So there's a bit where you can actually put a full-sized image, which basically means the picture will take up the whole page, which basically means each page on my glossary is on a blank, it's on a separate page, not double-sided. Okay, most glossaries aren't double-sided in fiction books, but if you see what I mean, and if you can see the table, so I had to convert it into a PDF file, then into a JPEG file in order to put the glossary in there. And same with the title page. I actually created this. I found a way to copy the title from the cover, from the initial first drafts, and just put, and same with the author name. And I was actually able to create that in Photoshop using my work laptop. So creating an image for the title page, or for the first title page. So I had to upload that as an image as well. And as a fiction book, luckily, I don't have images that appear partway through a chapter, but with a non-fiction book, you may have those. So if you mainly publish non-fiction, if you are thinking about using Vellum, and Vellum's only available on Mac, so you need to be aware. If you're thinking about getting Vellum and you write mainly non-fiction, I suggest you try it out, heavily try it out before you think about buying. See if you can actually format the manuscript, your non-fiction manuscript, and have it show up in the previews effectively. Start by uploading a chapter from your non-fiction text that has either heavy imagery, tables, and things like that, and graphs and things like that. See if you can format it in Vellum, and look at the previews to see how it will actually look on a page, whether it's print or ebook. The reason for that is if you can format that single chapter, you can see how long it takes you. You can see you can take notes about what sort of things you have to do in order to format it correctly. Because if you got like 10 images or 2 graphs on one page with a paragraph of information in between, you can see how it looks like, how long it takes you, what you need to do in order to do it. So there's that. And you can also see if you actually like it. So I suggest if you do non-fiction, test it out heavily before you even think about going to the generate or purchase button. Test it out. If you write mainly non-fiction, test it out heavily using non-fiction. See if you can actually get it to work properly using a chapter that is heavy on graphs and things like that. That way you know that if it works with that particular chapter, it will work with other chapters that have heavy images in that non-fiction text. Fiction-wise, so novels like my novel are text heavy. Basically, everything in that book is text, so direct text that has been written in, besides the title page and the glossary. Everything else is text. So the glossary and the title page are full-sized images that I had to put into Vellum. So as a fiction book, it's easy to format. But if it was an illustrated novel, I would have a lot of trouble. Now, when I say illustrated novel, if the illustrated novel is more text-based, as in the majority of it is writing, like in this, so paragraphs of writing with maybe a page or 2 pages of images per chapter, full-size images before or after a chapter. So if the illustrated novel is mainly text-based with maybe 1-2 full-page images per chapter, then you can format it in here. But if everything in your book is image, so every single page is an image, when you format it, you will have to format it each scene, each page of your book will basically be a full-sized image. And it may end up screwing up your formatting. And if you're doing an illustrated novel, you also need to be aware that if you generate the file for print, then it will turn the photos black and white. Generally, all the files will have colors in them, but it will be printed black and white because color is expensive. So there's that. If you write children's books, now if the children's books are picture books, so we have picture, one small line of text, picture, one small line of text, and there's maybe 10 pages, which is mostly pictures with a couple of short sentences that make a story. Formatting using this will be extremely hard, and I do not recommend it for children's books or picture books. Now, if your children's books are more like along the lines of Dr. Seuss, we've got page of text, paragraphs of text, and an image, and then another page, you've got paragraphs of text and an image, maybe you could make it work. But for children's books, if you want to do the formatting yourself, you're probably going to have to do it using a template in Microsoft Word, and that is going to be a pain. It's going to take you a while. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay for a formatter for children's books. So, do I recommend Vellum? Yes. For fiction writers and authors, or writers who want to export their files for print or ebook. So for writers and authors of fiction texts, yes. For non-fiction writers, it depends on the content of what you're writing, and if it is text heavy or image heavy. If chapters are image heavy, you may need to think about how you're going to format and include images within the chapters. So Vellum is a good piece of software. It works really well. It's very easy to use. I would mainly recommend it for fiction writers, not for non-fiction. It depends on the type of book. So if you're a non-fiction writer, think about trying it out before you even think about pressing purchase. Try it out heavily before you buy. Yeah, it can work really well for anthologies or collections of short stories as well. And with the way it's set out and with the title page or the information for the book, you can do really well. So it is a good piece of software. Downside, one, it's difficult to format non-fiction text using it. Not impossible. It's a bit more tricky. You can't use it for fiction or children's texts, so picture books or books with illustrations. So you can't really format using that. You can try, see how it looks and how it works for you, but it may not work. It's also Mac only. So if you own a PC, sorry, I actually bought a Mac to use this program because it would be cheaper in the long run for me to get a Mac and get the program. Because I do plan on publishing multiple books, and I would earn the cost back through the books. So there's that. But if you have a PC, there is a software called Mac in Cloud, which basically means, I mean, you still have to purchase the license for the software. But what it basically means is you can, it will create a virtual Mac, basically, where you can use the program. I don't know how that affects the formatting of the books, but people do use that, and it does work. So there's that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's a good piece of software. It works really well, both as a formatting software and as a writing software. It does pick up things like, it does have like a minor spell check in there. Again, it's minor. Doesn't pick up on everything. The spell check in Vellum is not as great as Google Docs or Microsoft Word. It's definitely not as good as Pro Writing Aid or Grammarly. So it's a good piece of software. It works well. It's easy to use. There's a short learning curve. But again, as I mentioned with the downsides, you do need to take that stuff into consideration. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it. I will be doing a video where I actually show you how to use Vellum, and I will be doing it using the sample chapters that I have, or rather I will be showing you using the version of my book that I uploaded specifically for ARCs. Yeah, so if you are interested, so that's pretty much it. But if you are interested in ARC, doing an ARC review or receiving an ARC copy of my book, you can go to Goodreads. I've got my links on there. You can go to my Facebook page. My usernames for both of them are Anna Finch Author. You can just type that in. You can find me pretty easy. The details for the ARCs and links are also on the video for the live stream that I did on the 10th of September. And there are still copies left for ARC readers. And again, ARC readers are not required to leave a review. I would like it if you did, but it's not required in order to receive an ARC copy. All right, that's pretty much it. And I'll see you in the next video.